guys, so today's video is all about the Kylie Cosmetics Holiday Eyeshadow Palette. So I'm going to be doing some swatches, a demo, and give you guys a bit of a review on what I think of this palette. I'm going to give you a hint. I don't like it. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts and opinions on this palette and what I think of it and everything, just simply keep on watching and don't forget to thumbs up this video if you do enjoy it. I'm going to get right on into it. So guys, as soon as I saw Kylie had a holiday eyeshadow palette coming out, I just knew I had to get my hands on it, and honestly I'm kind of disappointed because it's nowhere near as nice as a burgundy palette, and I found it a bit of a confusing palette to use just in general. There's only really about 3 positives of this palette. One, the packaging is beautiful. I really like this cardboard palette concept, and the fact it's all in the silver for the holidays is really beautiful. 2, she has added a mirror, which she had to, because honestly I think people would have flipped their shit if she didn't get around to doing that. And it's a really nice high quality mirror, like it's very clear and it seems like it's not a cheap mirror, so that's a nice addition. This silver foiled shade is incredibly pigmented and so beautiful, but that is where the positives end for me on this palette. I found this khaki green shade is the worst eyeshadow I've ever used in my entire life. I'm putting it out there. Worst eyeshadow I've ever used in my entire life. This color is not pigmented. It was super patchy. It didn't blend nicely. Like, it had heaps of kickback, and it just was shit. Like, I have no idea what even is this shade. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And then this darker shade was alright. It wasn't too bad. And then these 2 transition shades were quite nice and actually very smooth and creamy, just like her other mattes in her previous palette. And then these 3 shimmers in the middle are just absolutely nothing special. Like, they're nothing I would ever reach for, nothing I would ever use, because there's just nothing special about them. And I feel like when it comes to shadows, for me personally, if there were matte shades it would be fine, because matte shades are just basic shades. But when they're shimmers, and like they're not even like super pretty shimmers, like it just is pointless to me. I wish she would put at least 2 foiled shadows to a palette and 2 shimmers. And then this shade down in the bottom left here was really pretty, but I wish she had done more of like a true gold. I feel like for a holiday palette, like a true gold is an essential color in a holiday palette. For a holiday makeup, for Christmas time makeup, like it just makes sense. And although it's very pretty, it's just not quite enough oomph. Like, I feel like because it's a darker shade, it's quite muted and it's just nothing special. So as you can tell, I'm really disappointed. I had super high expectations for this palette, and I don't think I'm ever going to use it ever again. I actually think I have a bit of a dupe. So when I was looking at it, I felt like the colors were super similar to my Naked Smoky palette. The only difference is this doesn't have a green, and the shadows are nicer. So although their glittery sort of shimmery shadows aren't like overly incredibly pigmented, they're still really nice, and you can really build these shades without them getting patchy, without them sort of flaking off or like having heaps of kickback. I think this palette is more expensive than the Kylie one, but you do get more shades, and I feel like the composition of colors is just so much better. It makes a lot more sense. You can make a lot more diverse eye looks, or create a lot more diverse eye looks with the Naked Smoky than what you can with the Kylie Cosmetics Holiday palette. So yeah, I would suggest getting this one over it. But if you want a Kylie palette, definitely get the burgundy palette. I cannot rave about that palette enough. It is literally one of my current all-time favorite top 3 palettes. So I'm going to show you guys how I created this eye look. I started off with the lighter shade in the palette on my Sigma E40 tapered blending brush, and I just swept that through the crease. Then I went in with the second darker shade and just did the same thing, but used an E38 diffused crease brush instead. Then next, this is where trouble started. On the same brush, I'm taking that khaki greeny shade and I'm trying to put it in my outer corner, and it's just patchy, it's not pigmented, it's not blending very nicely, and as you can see, I was like, this shit is patchy. So then I went in with the darker shade on that same brush and I started packing that into my outer corner instead. This made it a little bit better, wasn't so bad then. This blended out quite nicely. Then I'm taking my Sigma E55 shading brush on that silver snowy sort of shade, and like, you can't deny how beautiful this color is. It's incredibly pigmented. But then I went in with the same brush and picked up some of that blue sparkly shade just to kind of transition the outer corner and the lid color. Then taking my pencil E30 brush by Sigma, I'm going in first of all with that dark shade, then going in with the blue shade and running that all under my lower lash. I then popped some eyeliner along my lash line and applied some Ardell Demi Wispies. And the final makeup look does look really pretty on camera. Like, it looks a lot better on camera than what I thought it did after I finished my makeup. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought, but there was just some really hit and miss shadows in that palette and it just drives me insane. So guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you found it helpful, even though it wasn't a very positive review. I honestly can't get over how sad I am about it. Like, I really wanted to love that palette. Honestly, like, I was blending my eyeshadow out and I'm like, no, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna look really pretty when it's all done and it's, you know, it's gonna be okay. And it just wasn't okay, so that really sucks, but I mean, this is the nature of first impressions and reviews. Like, I tried to find a few positives, and there are definitely a few positives with that palette, don't get me wrong, but like, overall, I felt the positives aren't enough to make it worth the investment. I'd love to know your thoughts on it, if you've tried it, what you think of it. If you haven't tried it, still I'd love to know what you think of it. Leave me some comments, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video, and subscribe if you're a new face, and I'll be talking to you really soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.